Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're about to unpack a topic that is quite literally a matter of life and death. Feast or famine. We're looking at the ultimate battle between human ingenuity and nature's sheer unpredictability. Since the dawn of civilization, we've tried to tame the environment to secure our food supply. And honestly, nowhere is this struggle more evident or more fascinating than right here in India's agricultural landscape.
Just think about that for a second. How do you farm when the monsoon fails? It is a massive, high-stakes question. Millions of livelihoods, plus the food security of an entire subcontinent, literally depend on the answer. Farming is inherently vulnerable anyway, right? But when your absolute primary source of water is a seasonal weather pattern that might just decide to not show up, well, the stakes are pushed to the absolute maximum.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The monsoon problem.
So, because of the total uncertainty of the monsoon and the varying water-holding capacity of different soils, irrigation is an absolute necessity. The ultimate goal here? It's reducing production instability. Increasing the irrigated area isn't just about growing more food. It's about guaranteeing a harvest every single year, regardless of what the clouds decide to do. We absolutely have to eliminate that instability.
Moving on to Section 2, defining efficient irrigation.
So if the unpredictable monsoon is our villain, we definitely need a hero. Let's define our terms here. Irrigation is the controlled application of water through man-made systems to meet agricultural water requirements. The magic word here is controlled. We are taking the randomness of nature and replacing it with human engineering. Expanding this controlled application is the absolute key strategy to enhance agricultural productivity overall.
And this brilliantly illustrates what a perfect system looks like. Think of this list as our ideal scorecard. To actually be efficient, a method must distribute water uniformly, minimize transport and soil loss, store the maximum amount of water, make sure crop growth is not adversely affected, and, crucially, be economically sound and adaptable. Keep this scorecard in the back of your mind, because we're going to grade every single method we look at today against these exact criteria.
Section 3. Canals, Power and Pitfalls.
Canals are hugely popular in India, but there's a brutal irony here. On one hand, you've got these incredible river valley projects tapping into perennial rivers. They provide essential irrigation facilities and even double as flood control systems. Sounds like a total game changer, right? But look at the flip side. The disadvantages are actually pretty severe. Canals can create marshy areas that act as massive breeding grounds for mosquitoes, resulting in widespread malaria. Worse, they can overflow during the rains and flood the exact areas they were built to protect. Plus, vast plain areas in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and Maharashtra suffer from severe soil degradation, like reh, just from having these canals around. It is a massive double-edged sword.
Let's move to Section 4, the trouble with tanks.
Now, if canals are these massive state-sponsored projects, tanks represent a very different, highly localized approach, and they have some huge advantages. Most are totally natural and constructed at a very low cost. Because they're built on rocky beds, they have a wonderfully long lifespan. And look at this brilliant economic adaptability. Farmers can actually carry out fishing in a lot of these tanks to supplement their income. So right off the bat, it passes the economically sound test of our scorecard with flying colors.
But what's really interesting about this is how quickly that promise just crashes into reality. The fatal flaw of tanks is impossible to ignore. Since they rely purely on collecting surface water, there is a tremendous loss to evaporation. The tank beds also suffer from severe silting problems, which requires constant, labor-intensive desilting. But you know what the absolute worst part is? They dry up entirely during the dry season. They literally fail to provide irrigation when the farmers need the water the absolute most. It's just a heartbreaking reality for the people relying on them.
Section 5. Tapping into well irrigation.
So, if canals degrade the soil and tanks literally dry up, where do we go next? Well, we look down. This is where farmers dig holes straight into the earth to access subsoil water. And the sheer geographical footprint of this method is vast. This isn't just some niche solution. It is incredibly common across the massive northern plains, the rich deltaic plains of the Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri rivers, and straight through parts of the Narmada and Tapi valleys. Millions depend on tapping into this hidden underground reservoir.
But pulling water out of the earth is definitely not as simple as just dropping a bucket down a hole.
Look at these constraints. It requires high skill for design, high skill for installation, and high skill for continuous operation. So the crucial point here is, this method completely fails the economically sound test for the very people who need it the most. Because of the high costs and intense technical demands, well irrigation is often simply not useful for small farmers. They are effectively priced right out of the solution.
Which really brings us to a pretty profound realization. We've looked at canals, tanks, and wells today, and every single one of these man-made systems designed to fight the unpredictability of the monsoons comes with a severe compromise. We're talking disease, unreliability, or outright economic exclusion. So I want to leave you with this to ponder. If every method we've engineered has a fatal flaw, what is the true hidden cost of our agricultural security? Think about the massive trade-offs required just to keep our food supply stable the very next time you sit down for a meal. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this completely changed how you view the water that grows our world. Catch you next time.